Hello everyone, welcome to Daily IELTS English, a short video where I will show you some of the techniques that you can use in order to get that better score on your IELTS test or just generally to have better English conversation. I'll go through the technique and organization first, and then I'll demonstrate with my own response. We're looking today at part 2 of the test. That's the long turn. You'll have 1 minute to make some notes and then 2 minutes to give your answer. Always remember these two things. First of all, use word stress. Today, I'm going to stress words like and, do not, every, all, much, many, if, basic words, all right? So not just the really important words you can stress, but you can also stress common words, and you'll see in the demonstration. The other key piece of advice I will always talk about is don't read the question when you start speaking. A lot of teachers out there will teach their students to say, I am going to talk about, don't do that, start with a time intro. That means you're going to say something like, last week, 2 weeks ago, last year, every day, every month, every week. This is really important. This is going to relax you. This is going to help you tell the story. A lot of times students will just, they'll try to answer the question like the answer is important. But remember, in this test and in good English conversation, it's not your English that's important, it's your ideas that are important, all right? Now be careful. You still want to have a good answer, but it's your answer, not the correct answer. Let's take a look at today's question. Describe a restaurant that you enjoyed going to. You should say where the restaurant was, who you went with, what type of food you ate at this restaurant, and explain why you thought the restaurant was good. Okay, the first two parts of that question, super easy. Where the restaurant was and who you went with. That's super easy. You're going to finish that part really fast. The other part, that requires more attention. Here is a technique I love teaching to my students, and it helps them get a better score for their answer, and it helps them get a better score for their grammar. It's very simple. Used to, would. I used to, would. In this part of the test, you can talk about your personal experiences. In fact, you really should. So using used to and would to tell an old story is a fantastic way to do that. Remember, you're using your English. You're talking about your experiences. That's all we're doing here. Let's take a look at how we might do this in the test. In my demonstration, I'll discuss my response to the question first. Then at the end, I'll show you how I would use used to and would. Remember how used to and would works. It's very simple. Used to is followed by the basic. Would is followed by the basic. I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. All right? So that's a good way to introduce the old story. And then when you use would, this is really good to describe the specific actions in that story. For example, I used to smoke. Every day after class or after a meal, I would go outside and have a cigarette. So you see there, I would. Then I can keep telling the story. I would go outside, I would take out my cigarette, I would light it, and I would spend about 5-10 minutes outside, either talking to a friend or just enjoying the peace. Also keep in mind, it's only for actions when we use would or used to. For a state, right? If you want to say it was fun, it tasted good, I owned a lot of lighters. All of those states are going to be basic. You'll see in the example. Okay, so as always, I'm going to use the timer. So you've got 2 minutes without interruption. About 5 years ago, I went to a Mexican restaurant. I don't remember the name, but it was in St. Kilda, which is south of Melbourne, where I'm living now. I went with a few friends and my sister and brother who were visiting me. It was really interesting because I used to think that Mexican food was very straightforward. You had tortillas, guacamole, tomatoes, and beans. I know that sounds really bad, but that's all I really knew about Mexican cooking. And when I went to this restaurant, it was a Mexican restaurant, and they had some of the traditional food, but they also had a lot of other dishes, a lot of other really interesting meat and pastry dishes. And I didn't know a lot. And it was really cool because the server explained a little bit about, historical and traditional Mexican cooking. It was really interesting. Like, I had no idea. And he even told us that the UN has actually protected authentic Mexican cooking. It was really interesting. And it was just funny because I remember when I was in university years and years ago in Vancouver, my friends and I used to go to this Mexican restaurant called, I think it was called Las Margaritas. I remember that because I went there a lot. And we would go there once a week and we would get, tacos and margaritas. And, we thought that was everything that Mexican food was. And it was just funny because we would go there so often and we thought we knew everything about the food. So when I went to this restaurant, it was really cool because I actually learned quite a lot about this and how Mexican food is prepared. That's my timer. That's 2 minutes. And I think I have covered everything. I could have talked a little bit more what I learned about how the food is made. And you saw there, used to, would, and then some regular present tense. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. I would love to hear about a restaurant that you've enjoyed. Please put it down there in the comments. I'd love to read about it, maybe give a little bit of feedback. If you can, try to use that used to, would, and past simple to tell me a little bit more about the story. All right, thank you very much. Please always remember, language is a habit. It is not a skill. And that's really important. You need to practice until it's right, and then keep going until you cannot get it wrong. Have a great day.